Hello, I'm Adam from Holmes Rental and Sales. We're going to do maintenance and operation on the 4500 4520Z. To start it, first of all, I'm going to make sure you're on the seat. You want to pull the park brake, which neutralizes all your controls. And then you want to make sure you just pull the choke since it's a gas. And then you can just start it. Your throttle is over here on the left side of the machine. That is all the same for all of them. We do have a slope indicator, which is an option right here. It tells you when you get up to 25 degrees that you need to get on flatter ground. On the left side over here, we have your high, neutral, low selector. Now we want to make sure we're on flat ground to make it go from high to low. And you need to work your SDL lever a little bit to line up the gear so you can get that to move from high, neutral to low. Also on the left side here, we got your weight transfer. 0 is your least amount of weight it's picking up on your front wheels. 4 is your greatest. To have your weight transfer adjusted, you need to pick your implement or your front hitch arms in the most greatest up position. You can select it for any position that you want. This is your SDL lever, which is forward, reverse is reverse. The front handle, pull it towards the operator, raises the mower deck or any implement that you have on the hitch arms, pushes it to the left, lowers the implement. The back stick runs your auxiliaries. Doesn't matter if you have the diverter valve with 4 outlets or the normal factory option with 2 outlets. It runs that. Your instrument cluster here for all your controls. The top one is for your extra headlights. This switch here is for your factory headlights. This area down here would be where your turn signal goes. This area here is for where your 4-way flasher goes. And this would be for your optional blinker. It goes on top of the ROPS. This is for your PTO that runs PTO driven implements. These 3 levers here are optional. Your auxiliary hydraulics and your 3-point. The first one here runs your 3-point implement hitch up and down. The center one here runs your rear remotes, which would be back here on your left side of the machine. The far handle on the outside runs your top and tilt kit, which is ran by these right side remotes. This is your top and tilt kit cylinder for your 3-point. Also, we have your auto detent, is what I call it, for your SDL controls. Up is in the off position, down is in the on position, which all that does is spring load this, takes it back to neutral when you let go. Also, hooked up to the SDL lever for forward and reverse. This is an optional forward reverse pedal here. The next thing I want to show you is your implement hook and unhook. This is your safety. If you don't have this picked up, you can't push this over to latch it. So you have to pick this up, push this over, pick that up like that, clear up to the top. That hitches your implement of any kind that you have on the front hitch arms. This is your belt tensioner for any PTO driven implement. In is the engaged position, out is the disengaged position. To take your belt off, pull the handle out, you can slide your belt off. Put it back on, make sure your handle's out, slip the belt on, push it back in. Also, if your belt is getting loose because it's got some hours on it and you would like to adjust it, on the lower side here, there's a 3/8 carriage bolt, so you don't need a backup wrench. Take a 9/16 wrench, loosen this bolt up here. It's slotted. Take your arm on the left side of the machine, slide it up. Then you can push this handle back in and it'll tighten the belt up. Also on the 4520Z, we're gonna go over maintenance tips, where to check the oil, where the filters are, where to fill it up, so on and so forth. To fill the engine up with oil, you got this fancy little cap here on the Kubota. Gas and diesel are the same. The dipstick would be right here, right to the front of the oil filter. The oil filter is just below the alternator on the right side of the machine. This is your overflow coolant jug expansion tag for your coolant or the radiator. Check the hydraulic oil for the entire hydraulics on the machine. Is this tube right here. It's got a sticker on the side of the reservoir here that shows high and low, and the oil should be in the tube between the high and low marks on the reservoir. This is another important tip. You need to keep this radiator screen clean at all times. If you're mowing all day, you might want to clean it a couple times during the day. It does show under the machine where all your grease points are. It has all your filters. It has when you're supposed to change everything. On the left side, it has here in the center, you can write when you changed your oil if you'd like. On the right side, it has all your filter numbers and oils. And on the lower here, it has your front and rear fuse panel. Tells you the fuses, the selection, what they run, so on and so forth. These grease points, you have 2 on your power steering cylinder, 1 on each end. 1 here, the other one's right up here. On the 4520Z, all 4520s for that matter, you're gonna have this grayish bar in the center. It's gonna have 1 grease point up here, 2 grease point back here. In the center pivot on all 4520s, it's going to have a grease fitting right here. Also, while we're down here, they have a master shutoff for the battery. Up is on, down kills all the power. Only power is from this disconnect to your battery. Also, this red knob here is your fuel shutoff. You're going to have just 2 for the 3-point. On top right here, 1, 2. On your lift cylinder, we have 2 grease points. The front one is right here on the front of the rod cylinder. The rear one is easiest if you remove this side panel, and it's down here on the opposite end of the cylinder. Once a year, Ventrac wants you to grease the dry shaft between the hydraulic pump and the engine. If you take these side panels off on both sides and you have a small hand, I guess, you can get up in there, grease that U-joint. Once a year is fine with that. As far as the mower deck is concerned, we have 2 grease fittings for both wheels. The caster one is the first one up here. The second one is where the wheel turns, which would be right here. It's the same on this side. It's on the inside on this side. The wheel one's right here. The spindles I'll show you in a minute. The grease fittings are underneath, but the rest of the mower deck, or the hitch arms are, you got 1 grease fitting here, 2 grease fittings there. On your jack shaft for your mower deck, you got a grease fitting here and another grease fitting there. We have grease fittings on the roller. On the right side, the grease fitting is pointing down towards the ground, which is right here. On the left side, it's pointing up. I'll show you how to flip up the mower deck. First of all, there's 3 pins you need to pull. 2 big ones. Pull this little pin out here, flop this up. You can go ahead and put this back down. Before you try to flip it up, if it has hydraulic flip up kit or manual, you want to make sure you put the height of your mower deck in the 1 position, which brings the rear roller up. So once you have all that done, you can flip the mower deck up, take these pins, put it back in the same hole. Now that we have the mower deck flipped up, the grease points on the mower deck for the spindles are right here. Each spindle has its own grease fitting. It does have a relief on the side. So if you put too much grease in it, it will just push the grease out the side. That's what that's for. 2 more grease points, which are the hitch arm. Right here is your latch for your implement. It's right underneath here by this 5/8 bolt. So if you want to take your duals off of your 4500, what you need to do is put an inch drive socket on here, loosen this up, This is torqued to 120 foot-pounds. Once you got this loose, you want to take a mallet, you want to hit this in. So this is loose like this. You want to pick the front of the machine up. As you can see, I have a block of wood underneath the inner tire. Set the machine back on it. Put the left hand on the inside, the right hand on this side. You want to spin this out until it comes off. Once you have it off, you can see that this is your puck that moves in and out. You can see it's tapered. So when you tighten up this draw bolt out here, you're pulling this tapered part in here. And that, you can see these grooves in here. There's 4 of them. That is swelling this up so the dual doesn't come off. The other thing is that is worth mentioning, see this sticker right here? The reason this sticker is here that we shot is there's a valve stem on the inside and there's a valve stem on the outside. So most of the time you would just put the valve stem to the outside. Well, obviously we have 2. So the sticker is showing that the sticker needs to go to the inside for the way the wheel is stamped for the lug nuts. You have to put it this way or the lug nuts won't seat and then you'll have problems in the near future. So to put the dual back on, when you still have the block of wood underneath here, roll it up like this, pick it up a little bit, then you start it. You just keep turning it, turning it, turning it, turning it. It says in the manual that you want 4 threads showing, so you just kind of tighten it up until it's snug. Tighten this up by hand, which pulls that puck in on the end of the axle. And you want to tighten this up to 120 foot-pounds. Start it back up. Pull your block of wood out, and you're done.